All right, so today we are going to um, use Eclipse to create our first. We'll do another Hello World in Eclipse. And then from then on, you'll have all your tools taken care of, your installation, and so forth. If you forget how to update JDK or the JRE, then go back and look at some of the previous videos and so forth. But from this video forward, we'll use Eclipse. I'll just make the assumption that everything's on your system and working properly. Okay, so then at the bottom of my Mac, I have Eclipse installed. Uh, on your Windows, you should have the same logo. It might be on your desktop, but it's the same thing. All right, so I'll just click it and start it. Pops the Photon. If you're using Neon or one of the previous versions, that's okay, but I would go ahead and get the latest updated Eclipse, and it's the Java developer installation, not the JEE. The JEE is an enterprise edition. We're not going to do any web development or cross network development on in this class, at least. So the first screen that you'll get, or the dialog box that you'll get, is this one, and it shows where your workspace will be. I created a directory called CISP1010 workspace, dash workspace. In my documents, you might do something similar. That way, if you have another class next semester, say I have CISP 1020, which is you will, then you could create another workspace and keep all of that work from 1020 in the same workspace. All right, it may say Eclipse workspace in here, and you can use that if you like. It's totally up to you, but I created my separate one. Okay, you can change Eclipse workspace to just CISP 1010 workspace right there, and it will create that directory for you in your system. Okay, I would not click or check this box because you never know when you want to change your workspace. I have many workspaces defined on my system, depending on whether I'm doing contract work or consulting, depending on whether I'm in 1010 or 1020 or Android or some other class, etc. So I would not check that. That makes it easy to switch back and forth between workspaces. Go ahead and launch it. This is a new launch for this particular install of Photon, so I wanted to walk you through what you will see. You come into this initial screen here. You will probably not see this again unless you just want it. Always show Windows, show welcome screen on startup. If you don't want to see this, then just uncheck that. It's totally up to you. Up here in the right corner is a workbench. That's where you want to go, and that's the environment that we're going to spend the rest of this semester in right here. All right, so I'm going to make this a little larger, but I don't want to maximize it because of to show you some things. Anyway, on the left, you'll have the Package Explorer. On the right, you'll see some other features over here, the task list and outline. These will change automatically as you do things. At the bottom, you have problems, Java doc, declaration, and so forth. All of these are dynamic depending on what you're doing. And we'll come back to every one of them. Up here at the right, you'll have something called the Java perspectives. That's where you'll spend almost all of your time, that and the debugger perspective. I'll explain what the perspective is when we get there. Okay, so right now we have nothing. This is a completely blank screen. On Windows install, you'll have this menu selection bar that's actually on the top bar up here at the top of your application, but Mac does things just a little bit different. But you'll still see similar, all of these should be very close to the same. You won't have an Eclipse menu, but you will have the rest of these. So in the Eclipse, for mine, I have preferences, right? That gives me this dialog box. In the Windows install, you'll go to Windows, and preferences should be listed under there. That is not on mine, so I have to go over here to Eclipse. Okay, so under here, I want to show you a couple of things real quick before we get rolling. Under General Appearance, you'll see the color theme. is default, and the theme up here is also light. So I don't like that. If you look at this for very long, it gives me a headache, and I have on UV glasses. And by the way, as a programmer, you'll be spending a lot of time behind your computer. So I would recommend getting, I don't know if you can see these or not, that they have, they reflect sort of a purplish, bluish hint or a reflection. And so that's to help your eyes over time looking at a computer. Okay. And they have, of course, these are prescription, but they also have reading glasses and just no prescription at all if you just want to wear something to protect your eyes. Here, I always like to use the dark Linux version, but there again, my main development box is a Linux box. There's not much difference between Linux and Windows. Either one of those give you a dark theme. By dark theme, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So you'll see it pop up to this. This is much easier on your eyes over time, so I would highly recommend it. Okay, so first off, over here, the Package Explorer, there's nothing there. So what we want to do is File, New, and then there's some things, Java projects and so forth, whoops, over here that we can utilize. Okay. Also, before I select anything, I can right-click in here and say New and Java project over here. We'll see some of these come into play, but we'll not for just a little while. But you can pick Java project here. All right, so the project name, I'm going to give it a name of just my first project being Hello World. Okay, use default location, I would not change that. Use an execution environment, JRE. So here you can change things. It's set by default to 10 because that's what I have installed. And that's what you want to do with yours. Okay. And then on farther down here, create separate folders for sources. Keep that selected. And that's all you need. And then go ahead and click Finish. So keep all the defaults, except just give it a name. Our first one, that's our first project. If you want to call yours Project 1, that's fine too, or whatever. Example 1 or whatever you want to call it. But so you won't turn this in. Finish. And you'll see to the left. Now here it says, because of the module, and I'll explain this later, but it wants you to give the module name a lowercase h. There's a reason for that. So go ahead and give the lowercase h there, and or you could not create it. This is really up to you. You will not be using this module information file for a long time. In fact, at the very end of this semester. So if I were you, I just simply would not create it. So I'm going to select Don't Create. And what that will do is give you a blank project, nothing in it. You can look around in it if you like. All the files, these are the library systems that it gives you by default. And then there's a SRC. That stands for source. That's where we put our source files, source code files. So that's where we code. That's where we write our code. So if I right-click on my source file, New, everything we do in Java is in a class. Almost everything. Now we'll see that we'll create interfaces and enumerations later on. But for now, everything we do is going to be in a class. I'll select class. It's going to give me another dialog box. And here, let's talk about the package. And I should have already probably talked about this in class unless you jumped ahead of me, which is fine. But a package is a way to package up all of our source code and keep it unique. So if we're working in a team, which once you get out into industry, you'll be working in teams. And so your source code, you don't want to conflict or get into a fight, let's say, with another person's source code. So you put it in something, a unique package. All right, so I'm going to do that, edu, and this is real typical. you'll see that the name that the package usually is sort of like the website in reverse. So edu.northeaststate. And then put your name at the end of it. Okay, so that's something that we can do as for practice. At the bottom down here, you want to make sure and keep this public. We don't have a name for it yet, so let's give a name for our file. In Java, and I should have already talked about this as well, all files use Pascal case. Everything else uses camel case. But the name of all of our files, which is also the name of all of our classes because they have to be the same, are always Pascal case. That means the first letter of the first word is capitalized, and then every word past then is capitalized. So here, hello, I'm going to change this up a bit just to give you an idea of what I mean. Foobar is used all the time in programming. It's just a catchphrase to name something that you have no idea what to name it otherwise. And so foo bar, and you notice that the F and the B are capitalized along with the H. Come down here at the bottom, and we're going to use Eclipse to do some work for us. We're going to have it create that method called main for us. And like I said, that's the entry in the previous video. That's the entry point of all execution for a Java application. Okay, I'm also going to have it generate comments, and we'll talk about this a whole bunch more too. So these are the things you want selected every time. This will change, but for the most part, the rest of this will not change. Okay, so finish. You'll see over here it creates this package, and we'll talk about that in class some more. It also created my file called hello foobar with a case sensitive. Notice here that it created my class with the hello foobar that matches my physical file. It also put some comments in for me. They're empty right now. We'll see how to change those to have Eclipse help you comment this thing correctly. Okay, so but for now we just want to use Eclipse to do another hello world, and that's fine. So I'm going to come in here inside of the scope. There again, the open curly brace to the closed curly brace is the scope of this main method, which is the execution point of all Java. And we want to put something in there that gets executed when this runs. So that's a good, I'm just going to put another system.out.println, open hello foo bar, exclamation, end it with a semicolon. Okay. Now you see that in the meantime, Eclipse is trying to do a lot of work for us and give us code hints and so forth. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on how to help. Eclipse has a lot of tools to help us. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this up here. Run it by clicking on the round green ball with a triangle in it. And at the bottom, you'll see the output. Okay, it's just exactly what we anticipated. All right, so that's it for this one. We'll go through this process almost every time. It's pretty close to the same, not exact, but pretty close. But we'll learn how to import some commenting and code style guides to help us with our comments and our style, code style.